when it comes time to actually build your project, clear expectations for timeline and also communication throughout the job will have already been set. We have a client expectation and customer service discovery questionnaire that we use as part of the pre-contract process to enable us to determine how we can serve our clients better. Also to have the discussion about whether or not it will be acceptable for subcontractors to notify us that they're running late, and if they expect to be told immediately, even though we're managing other jobs around town. And I think that just helps to have that conversation that you expect us to have somebody on site at all times, or you expect to have ability for us to access it, because it is completely different game if we have to meet the sub there and open it up for them and walk the job, especially when the subcontractors are all working on various projects, and some can take longer and some can get done shorter. So they could show up early, they could show up later than the planned time. And so we just have to have those conversations up front and understand that generally general contractors do not own all their labor. They rely on subcontractors that work for other general contractors in town that do direct projects with homeowners. And so just understanding the nature of a general contractor, his relationship with the subs, and having that discussion before the project starts is helpful. So we use that questionnaire to kind of start that conversation and help us talk about these things before we're in the middle of a project. And we generally do a weekly update with the summary of what we expect to get done via the job portal. And then we try to stay away from specific times, specifically because that can change on the fly. And if the specific time that the sub is supposed to show up changes by an hour or two, or they get there early or whatever, we don't like the clients getting hung up on that specific time. And that's also drives us to that discovery of what they expect, because some people have said, hey, just tell me the time, but I understand if it moves, and I understand if there's a delay because you're busy on another project, the sub texts you and you can't immediately text us. And that's the kind of things that can be perceived as a problem if they're not talked about beforehand and if they're not understood. And then the other thing about it we like to understand is, our subs have families. We've tried to provide them a good working wage so that they can enjoy their weekends and that they can do their hobbies and things. And I particularly have 5 children that I left the military and the life of deploying constantly so that I could be with them. So having that understanding of what working hours are, how to basically get questions answered, and understanding that when you send something at 7 p.m. on a Thursday night, that the subcontractor or the project manager may actually be busy with his family during those hours. So just kind of understanding that, generally we try to do a 24 to 48 hour response time on messages that are routine and not emergency. And then here's the protocol for how you handle emergency communications with us and the way that we can do that. And obviously, if it's an emergency, 24/7, 365, we want to be available to you to make sure we can resolve that, but also talk about the protocols for resolving some of those issues at your level, in addition to involving us, because there can be delays in communication as the nature of the way that life goes. Anyway, we have those discussions up front. We talk about them during pre-contract phase. We outline how that's going to go. Everybody understands the expectations, and we execute the plan based on that communication and expectation. And that really is something that has to be done up front, or else it can be done. It is not done at all. Then it just becomes something that we react to on the fly, and that's just not a good place to be when we're demoing the house and trying to get it back together for you.